Hello and welcome to this PV equals nRT gas moles exam question in multiple choice format. So they're asking us what the volume of 0.01 moles of nitrogen gas at 350 degrees Celsius and 200 kilopascals. So in order to process this question, you need to think about the things you need to do in sequence. So you need to decide whether it's PV equals nRT or V equals 24N you need to use because they're both gas mole equations. Then once you've made your decision, you rearrange whichever equation you've chosen, so the volume is the subject, and then you convert any units as appropriate and then insert them to the rearranged equation you've just came up with. So looking at the data we're given, you can see that it's 350 and 200. That's not the same as room temperature and pressure, or RTP for short, which is what you would need for V equals 24N. So therefore, I would choose PV equals nRT. Also, there's a lack of available data if you were doing V equals 24N. In other words, if there wasn't all this data provided, you would go for V equals 24N. But because there is all this data provided, I would choose PV equals nRT. Because looking at PV equals nRT, there are more things that need to be plugged into it. So the more numbers you're given, the more I would think PV equals nRT is the right way to go. So it's obviously volume that we want. So you put V equals nRT over P. And for later on, don't forget that volume actually comes out of this equation as meters cubed. If we take a moment, you can see that the units in all of the options of the answers are not meters cubed. So that's going to have to be borne in mind a bit later on. So let's convert our units first. P must be in pascals, so 200 has to become 200,000. And temperature, or T, must be in Kelvin, so convert 350 into 623. So if you now put those numbers in, we get 2.589811 times 10 to the minus 6 coming out of our calculator. Now remember, this is in meters cubed, and like I said a moment ago, the units provided in A, B, C, and D, none of them are meters cubed. So this actually gives us a bit of an advantage. We can stop and think about which answers we might not want to bother with as well. Because if we look at 2.589811 times 10 to the minus 6, all that's going to happen is it's going to be a change in the order of magnitude. In other words, you're going to be multiplying it up by 1,000 or 1,000,000 or whatever to change it into the right units for the answer. So it's not suddenly going to become 145. So this allows us to discard A and C. So obviously 2.589811 times 10 to the minus 6 has to be converted into 259 somehow. So to do this, you've got to recall what is the conversion from meters cubed. Well, into centimeters cubed, you multiply by 1,000,000. For decimeters cubed, you multiply by 1,000. So if you multiply 2.589811 times 10 to the minus 6 back up by 10 to the 6, you remove the times 10 to the anything. In other words, you end up with 259. So therefore, it must actually be B as our answer. Okay, as always, thanks for listening. I hope it's been useful. Until next time, see you soon.